Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Legislative Commission's second meeting of the 2025 calendar year. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Senator Daly.
Here.
Senator Dondero Loop.
Here.
Senator Wen.
Here.
Senator Rogich.
Here.
Senator Scheibel.
Here.
Senator Titus.
Here.
Assemblymember Bacchus.
Present.
Assemblymember Dickman. Assemblymember Hathan.
Here.
Assemblymember Miller. Assemblymember Watts.
Here.
And Chair Howdegee.
Here. Thank you. Looks like all members are present, so we have a quorum. This afternoon, we do have 3 members attending in the Legislative Building in Carson City, 8 members attending in the Nevada Legislative Building in Las Vegas, and we have 1 member attending remotely. Okay, a few housekeeping items before we continue. If anyone present or listening today would like to receive a copy of the Commission's agendas, minutes, or reports, you may be added to our mailing list by following the links on the legislature's website. Contact information for staff is also listed on the legislature's website. In addition, we accept written comments that may be emailed or mailed before, during, or after the meeting. The information regarding where to send written comments is also on the website and listed on the agenda for this meeting. With that, we can move on to agenda item number 2, which is public comment. We will be accepting public comment at this time from persons present here in the Nevada Legislative office buildings in Las Vegas. Then we will move to the offices in Carson City. And last, we will move to those on the phone line. If you prefer to wait to speak until later, there will be a second opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting. Please remember that comments will be limited to not more than 2 minutes per person. If there are any people in our audience here in Las Vegas wishing to give public comment, please approach the witness table. Okay, seeing none, is there anyone in Carson City wishing to give public comment?
There is not.
Thank you. AV8, could we check the telephone lines?
Thank you, Chair. At this time, our public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, a reminder that there will be a second opportunity at the end of today's meeting. With that, we can move on to agenda item number 3, which is approval of the minutes. Commission members, you have in your packet the draft minutes for the Legislative Commission meeting held on July 7th, 2025. These draft minutes are also available on the legislature's website. Let me first ask if there is any discussion on the minutes that were provided. Not seeing any. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
I have a first from Assemblymember Watts. Is there a second? Second. Second. I have a second from Senator Wen. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, nay. Okay, motion is approved. Next is agenda item number 4, which has 2 parts today. First is a request to continue a regulation not adopted within 2 years after submission to the Legislative Council. Following that request, there will be a review of administrative regulations. Our Legislative Counsel, Asher Killian, is with us today in Las Vegas to assist us with these items. But first, let's go to agenda item number 4A, which is a request from the state quarantine officer to continue a regulation that was not adopted within 2 years after submission to the Legislative Council, as required by NRS. An agency that has not adopted a proposed regulation within 2 years from the date that the regulation was submitted to the Legislative Council has 2 options if they wish to proceed with the adoption of the regulation. 1, they may restart the process by requesting a new regulation containing the same provisions and begin the hearing and adoption process anew. Or 2, have the executive head of the agency appear personally before the Legislative Commission and explain why the proposed regulation has not been adopted. Today, we have Director Gokachia with us in Carson City to request for the continuation for being past the 2-year mark. Director Gokachia, you are with us in Carson City.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. If you wish me to continue, I will. It's quite simple why this wasn't adopted within the 2-year period. So not only am I the director of the agency, but by statute, I'm also the state quarantine officer as the director. You may or may not remember that we had some vacancies in our state veterinarian office over the last couple of years. So during that time, I was also the acting and interim state veterinarian. So in order to adopt these regulations at that time, I would have had to present them as a state veterinarian to myself, the state quarantine officer, for adoption. I did do most of the workshops on these, and so I'm very familiar with them, but I did not feel that that was an acceptable way to move forward by presenting them to myself. We do have a state veterinarian now, Dr. Peter Rolfe. He has reviewed these regulations and provided feedback. So rather than us restarting the process, we feel that we could move forward with an adoption hearing of those proposed regulations before me, but that is what we're here to request today as a continuation. It shouldn't take more than about 60 days and we'll be completely done. We have had 7 different workshops on these proposed regulations to date.
Thank you, Director Gokachia. Commission members, does anyone have any questions for Director Gokachia? We'll start down here in Las Vegas. Okay, seeing none, is there anyone in Carson City with questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Director Gokachia, for being here today. With that, I would be looking for a motion for continuation.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. I have a first from Assemblymember Watts, a second from Senator Nguyen. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. And with that, there are our next agenda item under agenda item number 4 is 4B. There are 4 regulations that were submitted for approval. These regulations are all contained in the binder provided to the members and posted on the legislature's website under the tab for this meeting. Committee members, are there any regulations that you would like pulled for today's discussion? Seeing none in Las Vegas, are there any members with regulations that they would like pooled in Carson City?
No regulations to pull up in the north.
Okay, thank you. Then I would be looking for a motion to approve the regulations.
So moved, Madam Chair.
I have a first by Assemblymember Watts, a second by Senator Nguyen. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Okay, opposed, nay. Seeing none, motion carries. All 4 regulations are approved. Thank you, members. And moving along our agenda, that takes us to agenda item number 5, approval of corrections of errors in Senate Bill 359 and Assembly Bill 60 of the 2025 legislative session. This section of NRS 218D.720 authorizes the Legislative Commission, upon a unanimous vote of the members present, to correct typographical and clerical errors and enrolled bills signed by the governor after the legislature has adjourned. While routine errors are addressed as part of the codification process for NRS, there are occasionally clerical errors in the bill that, for the sake of transparency, merit being brought before the Leg Commission for correction. Our Legislative Counsel, Asher Killian, will provide us with additional information on this item. Asher, will you walk us through the agenda item, please?
Thank you, Chair. Asher Killian, Legislative Counsel. So as the Chair just explained, NRS 218D720 gives the legislature a mechanism to correct errors that could not be corrected through the codification process that crop up in bills during the regular session. There are 2 bills before the Legislative Commission today for consideration under this section of NRS. Both have clear clerical errors that would not prevent the bills from being codified, but make the bills in their enrolled version not be as useful as they would otherwise be without correction. So we wanted to bring both of these before you today for correction. All legislators also received an email from me explaining the situation. So hopefully folks are familiar with it, so I won't belabor the explanation. Turning quickly to the 2 bills, the first bill, Senate Bill 359 from this most recent session. There were 4 sections of the bill, sections 8 through 11, where the language which would normally appear in red to indicate deletions and blue to indicate additions was accidentally codified during the enrollment process. So all of the appropriate language is in those sections of the bill as enrolled. It just appears in black text, so the changes aren't called out in a way that's transparent. So the request for correction for this bill would be to restore the blue and red language so that these changes are apparent from the face of the bill. The second bill, Assembly Bill 60 from this most recent section, this explanation, I think, is a little more complicated than the correction. Effectively, this bill was amending the effective date of a bill from a previous session. There was a subsection in that effective date that's kind of the boilerplate language to expire certain provisions relating to child support by limitation if federal law relating to child support changes. This subsection accidentally got copied from the effective date of the original bill to the effective date of this bill. There were no provisions in this bill relating to child support, so it was a clear error. It was a clear erroneous duplication. So the requested change here is just to delete this erroneously added subsection from the effective date of AB 60. Madam Chair, if there are any questions, I'm happy to address them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Killian, for walking us through. I do want to remind the committee members that in order to approve this, we do have to have a unanimous vote. With that, do any of the members have questions for Mr. Killian? Okay, seeing none in Las Vegas, are there any questions in Carson City? Okay, hearing none, I would accept a motion to approve the correction of errors in Senate Bill 359 and Assembly Bill 60.
So moved.
I have a first by Assemblymember Watts, a second by Senator Nguyen. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, thank you so much. The motion passes unanimously. Okay, our next agenda item is agenda item number 6, the designation of chairs and vice chairs, and where applicable, membership of legislative interim committees. Here with us today is Jennifer Rudy. I believe we have Ms. Rudy in Carson City, Director of the Research Division, to walk us through these appointments.
Hi, this is Jennifer Rudy. Thank you, Chair Howdicke. My name, again, just Jennifer Rudy from the Research Division. You have an exhibit, agenda item 6, that has a list of the 9 joint interim standing committees, and it shows the chair and vice chair for each of those 9 committees, and then there are 4 additional committees on the document. And those are the Legislative Committee for the Review and Oversight of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency and the Marlette Lake Water System, the Legislative Committee on Senior Citizens, Veterans, and Adults with Special Needs, the Sunset Committee of the Legislature, and the Committee on Public Lands. I would just like to quickly point out that there were some changes to the interim committees in the 2025 session with Senate Bill 226 being passed. The Joint Interim Standing Committees had the tiniest change, and that was to add the date of October 31 following a regular session for the time frame for appointment of the chairs and vice chairs by the Legislative Commission, and then to point out that actually the legislative leadership will continue to appoint the members of those committees. So that's why there are only the chairs and the vice chairs listed on those. SB 226 from the 2025 session also made revisions to the other 4 committees on this exhibit, the last 4 committees, specifically making the Sunset Subcommittee its own freestanding committee, revising the membership of the Sunset Committee, changing the subcommittee on public lands to a full committee also, and revising the membership of all 4 of those committees, bringing them more in line with the joint interim standing committees. One thing I would like to point out, I've had a few questions, why are there members listed on the Committee on Public Lands? And that's because if you look at Senate Bill 226, it in section 8.5, it actually specifically requires that the Legislative Commission appoint not only the chair and the vice chair, but also the members of that committee, unlike most of the others where they are only required to appoint the chair and the vice chair, and then the members are appointed by legislative leadership. So just to explain that, there is one member of the Committee on Public Lands that is not included here yet, and we have reached out to the Intertribal Council of Nevada for that one last member. Recommendation from them, as soon as it's received, I imagine it will be on a future Legislative Commission agenda. So hopefully that answers the questions, but all of the information, to my knowledge, is the same on this exhibit. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Ms. Rudy. Members, do you have any questions for Ms. Rudy? Seeing none in Las Vegas, are there any questions in Carson City? Okay, seeing none,
I'm sorry.
I would look.
Sorry, Chair. Senator Titus here.
Yes.
And I just need some clarification on the membership on the public lands. I know, Ms. Rudy, you mentioned, why are there members already on that?
Thank you, Chair Howdicky. This is Jennifer Rudy again, Director of the Research Division. If you look at Section 8.5 of Senate Bill 226, it actually, let me see if I can find that. It actually provides for the Legislative Commission to make those appointments. And there is also an additional member, and that's the only one that's missing, and that's the Intertribal Council of Nevada. But this is one of the many revisions to the interim committee structure in Senate Bill 226. It's in Section 8.5, and it states in Section 1 of Section 8.5, there is hereby created the committee instead of subcommittee on public lands consisting of 8 members appointed by the Legislative Commission. And then it goes into who those must include. So that is a change from prior to SB 226.
Great. And follow up, if I might, Madam Chair? So what's the anticipated time on the tribal member? And can they start without one? And so I'm just wondering what the logistics look for that.
Thank you for the question, Senator Titus. I'm actually going to let our counsel, Mr. Killian, answer that since he's reached out to them.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Asher Killian, Legislative Counsel. Yes, so I've spoken with the Intertribal Council about this, and I think there's some desire on their part to reappoint the previous member, but their board could not meet until early September. So their preference was to hold off on Legislative Commission action until their board could meet to confirm that. Under the provisions of laws modified by SB 226 that govern these interim committees, they cannot begin meeting until the 1st of November. So under the normal course of business with Legislative Commission meeting at least every couple months, there would be at least one more Legislative Commission meeting before this body can begin to meet. And since that would give the Intertribal Council time for its board to meet and then forward their appointment or their decision to the Legislative Commission, that would still enable this member to be in place before the Committee on Public Lands could begin meeting.
Excellent. Thank you for the information. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for the question, Senator Titus. With that, are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I would be looking for a motion to approve the designation of chairs and vice chairs and membership.
So moved.
I have a first by Assemblymember Watts, a second by Senator Nguyen. All those in any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries. Next, that takes us to agenda item number 7, appointment of members to committees and similar entities. We have Deputy Director of the LCB, Roger Wilkerson, here to walk us through. Mr. Wilkerson?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Roger Wilkerson, Deputy Director for the record. In your packet, you'll see recommended appointments for one body this afternoon, the Nevada Silver-Haired Legislative Forum. And I'm happy to provide further information if you wish, but in the interest of time, I'll leave that to your discretion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, members. Any questions for Mr. Wilkerson? Seeing none in Las Vegas, are there any questions in Carson City? Okay, seeing none, I'd be looking for a motion to appoint for the appointment of members to committees and similar entities.
So moved.
I have a first by Assemblymember Watts, a second by Senator Nguyen. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Wilkerson. And this takes us to our next agenda item number 8, litigation report. We do not have Mr. Kevin Powers with us today, so we will be postponing this agenda item until our next meeting, which will be this October. So we will go ahead to our last agenda item, which is our second round of public comment, agenda item number 9. I would like to remind everyone that there are various ways to submit your public comment. You can do so by submitting it in writing. You can do so here in person in Las Vegas, Carson City, or by phone. We will start by taking testimony in Las Vegas. Is there anyone who wishes to give public comment in Las Vegas? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone in Carson City wishing to give a public comment? Seeing none, AVH, could you please check the telephone lines?
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. With that, committee members, this brings us to our last agenda item number 10, which is our adjournment. I would like to let you know that there is a sheet in your packets that requests your availability for our October meeting. Please remember to fill those out. And with that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.